At Rubber Band, we empower each other through positivity, kindness, and practical advice. Join a community of thousands of peers who understand the unique challenges you face. Rubber Band. Company agnostic, low ego, high empathy, always supportive.
Are you tired of spending endless hours on traditional hiring methods? Fairgo.ai is here to revolutionize the way you conduct interviews. Our platform allows for real-time AI interviewing, giving you the flexibility to connect with candidates anytime, anywhere. By automating the matching process, we eliminate the need for manual input, saving you time and effort. And the best part? We're committed to promoting a fair and unbiased interview process by removing identifying information. Embrace the future of hiring with Fairgo.ai today so you never miss another great candidate.
Welcome, listeners, to today's episode of the Rubber Band podcast, where I am joined by special guest Rohit Anand. Now, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I live and work on, the Wadawurrung and Dja people. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waterways. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I would like to extend this to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome, Rohit. How you doing?
Thanks, Eden. It's a pleasure being here, and I would say this was something I was really looking forward to on a Monday. So.
Absolutely. I love doing Monday afternoon podcasts. That's when I record them. And I think it's the start of the week. We're not stressed yet. We can have a lovely chat and it all feels good, right?
Coffee and a chat with Eden. What could go wrong?
Exactly. What could go wrong? We've never had anything go wrong. So could be the first, right? I don't think so, though. And where are you joining us from today, Rohit? Are you based in Melbourne, based in Sydney, based in Brisbane? Where are you?
I'm based in the beautiful Melbourne. I was in Sydney for almost 10 years, but then decided to make the change to be part of the beautiful Melbourne and experience the wonderful weather that Melbourne has to offer.
Well, the wonderful weather's, we seem to be getting an early spring. So, you know, yes. I'm quite chuffed with the weather this year. It's not too cold. I'm pretty happy. Even though I'm feeling a bit under the weather, I'm getting through it. The sun's shining. I got to be happy, right? Well, with these Rohit, as you know, you mentioned earlier that you're a long-time listener. So, as you know, we go all the way back to your childhood to start with, and we walk through your career and we get to know you today. So, tell me about growing up. Tell me about you. Tell me about your childhood.
That's a very interesting question. Walking back down the memory lane.
It is memory lane.
Never really thought that I would end up being a recruiter, but yeah. Growing up, it was always either an engineer or a doctor because I come from an Indian family. When you grow up in an Indian family, it's either a doctor or an engineer. At least that's how it used to be. And all my cousins were reputed engineers and doctors. But again, I was never studious enough. However, I did manage to complete my graduation as a mechanical engineer.
Wow. So you're a smart cookie, Rohit.
You can say that, yes.
And where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Australia or in India? Whereabouts? In Delhi. Wow. Wow. And so did you do all your schooling in Delhi? Were you from a big family? Tell me all about that.
I come from a very small family. I would say a creative family. My mom was a teacher. She still teaches. My dad was a chef. And my passion, I thought, would always lie towards cooking because I was always passionate about cooking. And grew up in Delhi. I would say, fortunately, my family wasn't a conservative one. So, and I was a very, very naughty child. My mom would say I was a handful, or rather more than a handful.
I can't imagine that. How were you a naughty child? What did you get up to?
I was always getting into trouble. Always getting my parents to come rescue me.
Yeah. Well, so tell me, did you do your schooling and your degree in Delhi? Was that overseas?
No, my education was entirely in Delhi. I did my schooling, then did my mechanical engineering from Delhi. After working in my very first job as a trainee mechanical engineer, I realized that, again, I wasn't cut out to work with machines. I am somebody who loved socializing, was more of a chatterbox, still am, but was definitely much more when I was stepped into the industry. And that's when I realized I wanted to get into HR. In fact, it was quite an embarrassing start. I'll tell you more about that. But yes, that's when I did my post-graduation in HR and haven't looked back since.
Wow, how interesting. And was that your very first job, or did you have any other jobs prior to moving into your first engineering role?
Now, my first job was that of a trainee engineer.
Yeah.
So when I look back to where I started and where I am today, it looks like it's been a complete 360 degree. Started with General Motors and now working back in the automotive sector.
Yeah. Wow. How interesting. And, you talk about, moving into that trainee engineering role, and you did your post degree within HR. How did that all come about? What was the defining moment where you thought, I think I want to study HR? There's something in that for me.
Well, as I said, there was an embarrassing story behind that. When I was young and did not really care about what was happening or who I was talking or who I was offending, I remember in my very first week, I was talking like there's no tomorrow with one of the professionals at General Motors. Little did I realize that I was talking to the head of human resources.
Uh-huh.
And we had a nice long catch up. I made him miss one of his meetings, still remember it till date. And after the conversation, he introduced himself. He was like, okay. And he wanted to know which department I was working with. And I told him, I was like, have you ever considered a career in HR? I think you would be perfectly suitable. I was like, giving it a thought, but yeah, I will remember. And then further down the line, General Motors was going through a tough time in India. And that was the time when I thought, might as well give it a go. I can still see what's out there and what is it that I really enjoy. And that's when I took a secondment in the field of HR, L&D, and recruitment, and realized that is where my passion really lies.
Right. And what was it? Like when you moved into that HR, L&D, and recruitment role, what made you decide, I think this is the career path for me? What was it? What was that moment where you went, I really like this. This is cool. This is Rohit. This is me.
Well, the first time I made a placement, and I still remember, the candidate came to me and he was like, I've been trying to get into GM for a very long time, but I've never really had a chance. Nobody ever reached out to me. But when you reached out to me and had that initial conversation with me, I saw some hope. And when I made that placement finally, the candidate comes to me and is like, you've changed my life. That was the defining moment for me. It's like during my time in engineering, it felt like I was doing something, but never really felt complete. But that one instant made everything fall into place.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think that's the thing, right? We get into recruitment and talent acquisition for those moments where we've changed someone's life and we've found them an opportunity that is really going to define their career. And that's what really drives us. But on the flip side, we tend to have more conversations that are saying, I'm really sorry, but you haven't been successful, right? Like if that was the moment that made you go, I really want to do this, that was incredibly rewarding and incredibly satisfying. Tell me about that. Like, do you struggle with the other side where it can be challenging?
Initially, I used to. But then what I learned was, even as a candidate, I mean, I do not hesitate from getting feedback, or I would say somebody coming and letting me know, hey, you're not successful. All I want is to know what really went wrong. As long as I am transparent and honest with my candidates, I think they understand. It's not that, but it's just about picking up the phone and reaching out to the candidates saying, hey, this was what happened. This is what you could have done better. That's it.
Yeah. And that feedback is critical, right? Like if you are being able to support your candidates along that journey, those conversations become a lot easier because they still walk away with something really special because you've given them that experience. So I can relate to that. Now, as a young chap and you hit the desk there at GM and you were, started your recruitment career, was it what you expected it to be? What were the surprises for you?
Well, dealing with people, again, I'd always considered myself as a people person, but when it came to dealing with people on a professional basis, I realized it wasn't easy.
Mm.
I mean, if a machine stops working, you can fix it up and it will get back in no time. But with people, it's all about building the trust, building those relationships. And if things go wrong there's no fixing. So you have to be very careful about how you handle those conversations, how you build that trust, and how you make them believe that what you're doing is right for the business.
Mm. What came next for you after GM? And I want you to talk me through how you came to Australia, and so you mentioned Sydney and Melbourne. Tell me, walk me through the rest of your career until now.
So after completing my post-graduation, I worked with an IT firm as a tech recruiter, and then got a chance to step into healthcare. That was back in India as well. So I worked with a leading hospital and healthcare chain in India, looking after their L&D and recruitment function. It was during that time that I got a chance to move to Australia. First started my journey in South Australia. Beautiful, wow. Yes. But I realized it was way too quiet for me.
Sure.
I got the first offer from Healthcare Australia, which was a recruitment agency recruiting general practitioners, and they were based in Sydney. So moved to Sydney, worked with them for some time, and it was short-term contract initially. After which, it was Baxter, the company that I worked with twice for now. Amazing people, really good culture, and gave me a chance to really understand the healthcare sector in Australia. Worked there for 2 years and then got an opportunity with Abbott, where I was a standalone recruiter. Again, med devices. And from there, it was transport for New South Wales, a job in the public sector. But again, after you worked in healthcare and private, you realize public sector can be way too slow for you.
Right. Yeah. I can imagine that healthcare, the complexities, and particularly now, right? I mean, it's the industry that we know there's a particular talent shortage, issues with pay not being aligned to where it necessarily should be. I mean, healthcare is a real challenge. How did you then come back into the engineering field with Bapcor? I mean, that just feels like a natural transition for you.
It wasn't that natural, actually. I remember when I was at Transport for New South Wales, again, before I stepped into my job at Transport for New South Wales, I'd heard mixed feedback about working in public sector. But knock on wood, I actually met some of the best recruiters and mentors during my time at Transport. But after COVID, I realized I wanted a change of scenery and wanted to move to Melbourne. When I was doing that, I got a call from my ex-employer, Baxter, and they're like, "We're happy to offer you a role if you're happy to come back." I was like, I loved working with Baxter, so why not? Did that and moved to Melbourne. It was after working with them for a year and a half that I got a call from Kyle Hurley, who used to be the talent acquisition manager at Bapcor.
Yes, and I've interviewed him before. I know Kyle very well. Yes.
Amazing person. So for me, more than joining Bapcor, it was about a chance to work with Kyle. And he showed me what the organization had in store for TA at Bapcor. It's like, why not? Accepted the role and moved into Bapcor. It was a challenging few months because, again, Bapcor, being an amazing organization as it is, there's still an infancy about processes and tech. But the people here, the support that I've received has been amazing. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, that's an incredible journey, and it sounds like you've worked in every region of Australia as well. But is Melbourne home now? Do you love it here?
It is definitely home.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, tell me about some of the biggest lessons that you've learned over the years as a recruiter. Like, what kind of recruiter are you, and what advice would you give to people based on the knowledge that you've gained over the years?
I would say the first lesson that I would give to people would be never forget that you were once and you will once again be a candidate.
Yeah.
So treat your candidates the way you want to be treated. Okay. Second, it's important to know when to say no. Your hiring managers is just people like you. They're not perfect. So at times they need you to partner with them and tell them if you don't think that they're taking the right decision when it comes to candidates that you're working with. So it's okay to say no as long as you have a strong reasoning behind that. And last and most important, I would say, is embrace tech. Technology is the future. And as recruiters, we can actually utilize technology to make our life easier. So instead of running away from tech, embrace it.
It can be a hard thing to do. I have this conversation with a lot of people in our industry because we tend to fall back to what we've always done, right? And what we've always done will get results. I mean, I'm not one of those people that say recruitment is broken because I don't believe it is broken, but I believe embracing technology will give you more time to be able to have deeper conversations with talent and will lead you to make better outcomes, right? It's the more you get to know the candidate, the likelier chance you're going to find them that dream role that you talked about earlier when you have someone reach out and tell you how incredibly grateful they are. Why do you think people are resistant to technology and AI? Like, have you fully embraced it, or where are you on that journey?
Well, I am still in the process of embracing it in the sense that I tend to use AI when it comes to reviewing my job ads, for example. Being a proactive recruiter who believes in DE&I always want to make sure that when I'm out there in the market, my candidates know that we welcome everyone. So I use AI to review my ads before I post them. At the same time, if I have any questions around perhaps when I'm finalizing the position descriptions, I'm looking at interview guides, I do not hesitate utilizing tech to just make sure that I'm on the right track.
It's interesting. I am not embracing it enough. And I confess to that because I think I'm an old fella, right? And I do naturally fall back into what I've always done. And I need to keep myself on the front foot to embrace it. Do you think there's anything out there that would support people like myself that perhaps struggle a little bit with embracing new technology? Like, how do we shift that mindset?
Well, personally, I enjoy looking at videos. I am somebody who enjoys being on YouTube or other social media channels that help me understand what's out there and what's the best way to utilize the technology. LinkedIn has some amazing resources that we can use if we want to learn more about how to use technology to the best possible way.
It is. I think it's that self-learning, and we have to really push ourselves to do that. And I certainly do, because like I said, I'm someone that quite naturally reverts back to the way I've done things always. I mean, what are you most, as a talent acquisition professional, Rohit, what are you most passionate about?
I am really passionate about stories. I grew up listening, reading, and sometimes even writing or scribbling stories. So storytelling is something that I've always been very passionate about. Being a recruiter, being a talent acquisition professional allows me to listen to the stories that my candidates have to offer. More than just talking about their expectations or their career, I love to understand from them who they are. What made them into who they are, their wins, their losses, their struggles. And that helps me understand more about what sort of personality they are, whether they will be a good culture fit for the organization or the role that we are offering or not. And that is something I'm passionate about.
Me too. And do you do work to bring those stories to life through your employee value proposition or through your marketing campaigns? Tell me about that.
Yes. So I love working with the marketing teams to facilitate the branding or employee value proposition. Whenever I'm talking to candidates, I'll always try to make sure that I align my conversations with the organizational values or what the organization really stands for. A very simple example would be a lot of times candidates tell me, hey, and again, post-COVID, it's something that's become vital, is that do you offer hybrid working environment? Do you offer flexibility? And for me, working at Bapcor, it's easier to relate because Bapcor believes you need to be there for what you believe in and what's important to you. So yes, we do offer flexibility. And when candidates feel that they can relate to what the organizational values are, the conversation becomes easy.
Amazing. I want to talk more about Bapcor, but you talk about values, and I think a values-first approach is fabulous. So what are your values, and how do you bring those to life when you're talking to candidates?
Well, as an organization, our values are, as you can see behind me, I'm sure, we do give a damn. we give a damn. That is, no matter what it is, we look after our customers. If somebody says there is a problem, we don't just try to pass the buck. We pull up our socks and say, hey, we'll help you out in the best possible way we can. And as somebody who was new to the industry or new to the company, I saw this firsthand. There were times when I didn't have answers, and I would just walk up to people and say, can you help me? Even if they didn't know the answer, they would make it a point to take me or guide me to the person who could help me out.
Mm.
So that says it all. Again, we are in it together. So when it comes to working as an organization, working as a team, we are trying to have that culture where we don't say, it's all about we. What can we achieve together? And ultimately, we do believe in doing the right thing. Even if at times it means saying no or offending some people, it's always about doing the right thing.
That's great. Those are fabulous values. And I can tell you live and breathe them, right? Because as you said, they're on the wall directly behind you or on your screensaver. I'm not sure what that is behind you, but I can see them. And that's why I wanted to talk about them, because I think we are not talking about values enough in the industry. And I don't think we're bringing them to life well enough through our EVP. Some of us are doing it really well. Others, we seem to be, and I love the storytelling, but if you can connect the storytelling to the values and piece that all together, that to me is a really effective way of talking to industry and talking to talent and making it as authentic as possible. Because if you bring your values to life, that's going to be the reality of what it's like to work at Bapcor, for example. So I think that's really fabulous, Rohit. I'm curious around Bapcor and how recruitment works and where your role fits and, what kind of roles you work on. Tell me all about that. Tell me about talent acquisition at Bapcor.
Well, currently I am the entire talent acquisition function at Bapcor.
Oh, geez. Okay. So how big is the company? What's the headcount size?
It is a big company, and they have grown rapidly. They're still growing, but again, they never really had a centralized talent acquisition function. Still in the process of building that, but at the same time, I look after the corporate and tech roles for Bapcor. We have our hiring managers for stores and other areas that manage the recruitment themselves, and I step in to support them as and when required, making sure that the ads that they're using or the interview techniques that they're following, they are aligned with Bapcor values. Okay. My role typically starts with managing the end-to-end recruitment for the portfolios that I manage. But at the same time, I enjoy working on projects that are helping put the talent acquisition function or establishing that function at Bapcor.
Amazing. So, you talk about Bapcor being on that journey of centralizing talent acquisition, which wasn't the way it was prior to yourself, or for, it's something that you're on that journey with. What opportunities does it bring to centralize talent acquisition, and what challenges does it bring? Tell me about the good and the bad.
Well, the opportunities, I would say, is that as a recruiter, or as a talent acquisition professional, I get to suggest or bring forward the ideas which I want to see in the organization or in the talent acquisition function. Challenges, it's about convincing people to change or look at what talent acquisition can really offer.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think, there's always going to be opportunity when you centralize, but I think the risk is doing it too quickly. So it's interesting to hear around that journey. So did you say that you've now centralized some areas. But yeah, tell me
Yes.
about that.
So again, since I was the first in-house recruiter who was brought in to look after the corporate and tech roles, I'm aware that before I started, we had other programs which somehow laid the foundation for an in-house talent function managing certain areas of the business. And the business really embraced that with open arms, because before the talent acquisition function was established, they were looking at reviewing all the applications themselves, posting ads on their own, screening each and every application and seeing what's out there. With an internal talent acquisition team being in place, they get the advantage that as their talent partner, I get to share with them what the market really looks like, what are the ups and downs that the market is facing, or what does the future of a particular role in the market really looks like. And instead of I would say, just being a typical recruiter, I work as a partner with the business, helping them understand what's the best move that we can take, whether it's going to the market or looking at internal talent, or perhaps a combination of both at times.
Amazing. I love what you're doing. It's really, really interesting work, mate. And it sounds like it's really having a great impact on the business. Do you feel that you've do you feel that you've found that perfect fit for you now? I mean, when you reflect back to being the young chap that had started a trainee engineer role back in the day, and now here you are leading talent acquisition for Bapcor. Have you found your place?
Come a long way, yes. And again, each chapter has been equally interesting and I would say rewarding for me. But where I am currently, I definitely feel more fulfilled because I get to really work closely with the business, helping them in the way I think I would be able to offer the maximum expertise in.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. I can tell how happy you are. I can tell how much you live and breathe the company values. It's fabulous. And I love seeing that. I love seeing a happy recruiter. That's what life's all about. That gives me the greatest satisfaction. Well, finally, just as we're about to wrap up, would love to just ask one more question. And that would be what advice you would give to anyone out there who is either currently working in recruitment or perhaps considering a career in recruitment.
Well, to those who are already working in recruitment, I would say your candidates never really forget you. So always try to make your experiences with your candidates a memorable one. And to those who are considering a career in recruitment, I would say it's an amazing profession that rewards in truly non-conventional ways. But I would recommend recruitment as a career only for those who are genuinely passionate about people and do not give up when the going gets tough.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that summarizes it absolutely beautifully, Rohit. And I want to thank you for joining me for the podcast today. Is this your first podcast?
Yes, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I love first timers, and thank you for all your support of Rubber Band. And listeners, anyone out there, please come and join us in Rubber Band. We have an absolute brilliant time in there, full of really kind, passionate people, and there's always someone there to help. So just like Rohit, just like me. So thank you so much, listeners, and thank you, Rohit. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you today and talking through your career.
Likewise, Eden.
Thank you.
Yes.